Modern gaming has become a chore, but at the same time, it's also one of the most exciting eras to be a gamer. With so many games hitting Game Pass every month, a multiplayer game being born every minute, and for some reason, every AAA publisher decided to release all of their good games in 1 year. I mean, seriously though, what the fuck were they thinking? Due to this, however, there's an underlying problem that has become very apparent. I call that problem Gameflation. Gameflation can be defined as having too many high-quality video games to choose from, which in turn decreases the perceived value of those choices. Have you ever gone to an all-you-can-eat buffet? Oftentimes, diners will fill up their plate with a little bit of everything, and in turn never truly enjoy each dish. Similarly, if you load up on too many games to choose from, you will never truly appreciate each game. But what is it that's causing Gameflation? Well, in fact, many things contribute to Gameflation, but the main contributors are subscription services, multiplayer titles, and having too many new game releases. Since 2017, Xbox Game Pass has been the best value in gaming. For $11 a month, you get access to hundreds of games like Lies of P, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Forza Motorsport, Starfield, Payday 3, and Party Animals. Oh, and did I mention that all of these games hit the service in the same 30-day period? But with so many quality games available at your fingertips, how would you ever pick one to commit to? Likely you won't, because convenience and gaming are a bad mixture. Game Pass will cheapen your perceived value of what you are playing, and with that goes your will to finish what you started. This happened to me when I was playing Starfield. The beginning was very slow, but I had heard that I needed to be patient to get to the good part. But I wasn't patient enough. This is because I realized that spending 20 hours trying to get to the good part of Starfield was hard work for a game that I spent almost nothing on. I could force myself to sit down and play Starfield, but instead it's much easier to spend those 20 hours in a true masterpiece like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or any of the other 100 choices on Game Pass. It's just far too easy to give up on a Game Pass game if it has a slow start, and instead try one of the other 100 games on the service. This is why convenience and gaming are a bad mixture. Just like how watching a movie on Netflix won't hold your attention the same way as if you had purchased that movie, if I had purchased Starfield, I would have been much more committed to gain value from it. Now let's shift our focus to another gaming facet, multiplayer. One of the greatest challenges for the modern gamer is finding a balance between playing multiplayer and single player. This is because multiplayer games are an endless cycle of winning and losing. In other words, you could play these games till they shut the servers off. And that is just scratching the surface, because if you are like me, you don't always play these games just to have fun. You play to win. Multiplayer games derive their fun from winning and leveling up. And the only way to level up is to keep playing and get good. But getting good is a huge commitment too. You have to learn the ins and outs of every map and every weapon you play with. At some point, you'll have to decide if you want to stop getting wrecked by sweaty 11-year-olds in Fortnite or play another game. Have you ever watched the episode of South Park, Make Love, Not Warcraft? If you haven't, here's a short summary. The South Park kids were getting completely wrecked in the game World of Warcraft by a guy who literally had no life. And in response to this, the kids gave up everything to beat him, and in turn, they became what they sought to destroy. Similarly, when attempting to get into the game Destiny, I was getting destroyed by players in the Crucible. In order for me to have any chance at competing with them, I had to grind up to a high enough level to participate in a raid, at which point I still only had like a 3% chance to get a specific weapon drop. I spent week after week trying to get a gun, and in turn, neglected many of the games in my backlog that I had not finished. Up until this point, we haven't discussed the true inspiration for this video, and that would be that the fact in 2023, we have too many goddamn good games coming out. I mean, let's look at the month of October alone. We have Assassin's Creed Mirage, Detective Pikachu, Forza Motorsport, Lords of the Fallen, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, Ghost Runner 2, Alan Wake 2, and this year's Game of the Year, Skull Island, Rise of Kong. There have been times where we would have been lucky to get all those games in 1 year, but instead we have them all in 1 month. In 2023, we are completely flooded with options, with release after release dropping weekly. And with every new game that does well with critics or gets talked about on social media comes with it a level of FOMO. FOMO, or fear of missing out on a new game, increases your desire to buy the new hyped up game, and in turn neglect the games you already own, adding to your backlog. Let's say you bought Star Wars Jedi Survivor at the end of April and then heard of this game that's supposedly going to completely destroy any game that's come out in the past 10 years, releasing in a few weeks, called The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. At this point, you might be saying to yourself, I'll get to it after I finish Jedi Survivor. But when May 12th finally comes around, and all you see are rave reviews, people talking about how good this game is, and even the fucking Weeknd is playing this game? Yeah. Goodbye, Jedi Survivor. While Tears of the Kingdom might be the better game, Jedi Survivor is one of the best Star Wars games to ever release. And you just decided to throw that away? What the hell? Are you stupid? The point I'm getting at here is that new games plus hype equals FOMO. FOMO plus backlog equals bigger backlog. Bigger backlog equals gameflation. Now that we've addressed the causes of gameflation and defined what it is, what should we do about it? Well, some of you might say nothing, and you are wrong. But for sane people like me, I've come up with a few different ways to manage it. Organization, consolidation, and managing FOMO are your keys to managing gameflation. Organizing my games has helped me dramatically. On Steam, I organized the games that I'm prioritizing into the favorites category, and then games that I finished into the finished category, multiplayer into another category, and other unfinished games go into the games that I need to finish category. On consoles, you can organize your games with folders as well. You could also limit yourself to only 1 or 2 multiplayer games that you and your friends enjoy the most and focus on getting better at them. A good choice for this would be something like Dead by Daylight, an asymmetrical survival horror game, and Apex Legends, a first-person shooter, so you have some diversity in playstyle. But in actuality, you need to prioritize learning how to manage FOMO. What worked for me is recognizing that buying most games at launch is simply not worth it, especially if you're still playing something else, because every game will go on sale and you will appreciate it so much more when you get it for 50% off. This will also be when the game is fully patched and polished too. I mean, just look at the transformation in Cyberpunk 2077 made 3 years later. It finally resembles the game that was promised to us, and you can regularly find it for super cheap. But that's a topic for another video. When you put these solutions into practice, you will begin to feel less overwhelmed and will discover that the quality games you already own are just as exciting, if not more, than what's coming out next. While throughout this video I've only described gameflation as being a problem, I also believe it's a good problem to have, because it means that the gaming industry is healthy. Xbox Game Pass is an insanely good value that allows people to find games they would have never otherwise tried. The multiplayer gaming space has never been so competitive, and having a large variety of different releases means that everyone has something to play. But as with all good things, balance must come with them. At the end of the day, we can't play every game, we can't ever have enough time, and we can't control when publishers release games. But what we can do is learn to appreciate the games we already have. Well guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I understand this concept of gameflation isn't going to be relatable to everyone, but if you can relate to it, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And if you can't relate to it, I'd still love to hear why. This was my first video in this format, so make sure you leave a like because it helps out the channel a ton. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to know exactly when my next video comes out next. This has been KillerCam1020. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Peace.